It's time now for our press review with Antonia Kerrigan. And in Italy, the Prime Minister is under investigation over the release and seemingly VIP repatriation to Libya of suspected war criminal Osama Almasri Najim, arrested on an ICJ warrant. And Giorgia Meloni seems to be once again at odds with the judiciary. Talk us through the story, Antonia.
Well, for context, Osama Almasri had an ICJ warrant issued against him for murder, torture, rape and sexual violence. And he used to run, and I think once again does, as far as we know, prison-cum-detention centres for migrants in Libya, where victims say he used to buy or grab migrants from official detention centres. Some of these former detainees are now in Italy. This piece in La Repubblica, it talks about one of them, David Yambio. He and two others, testified to having experienced violent beatings and forced labour under Osama Almasri. And they have written to Giorgia Meloni a letter demanding an explanation for his release and repatriation. Now, the explanations given so far were that a Rome appeals court overturned the arrest, saying there was an irregularity, and then the Interior Minister came out saying the reason why Al-Masri was returned the way he was because he was such a dangerous criminal. When I say the way he was, of course, I mean on an Italian Secret Service plane. This story is now all over the front pages because Giorgia Meloni and several of her ministers are under investigation. If we look at the front page of La Stampa, you have Meloni challenges the judges. They want to govern, in quotes. Repubblica also has something about this. Judges, Meloni turns up the heat. Now, in Il Giornale, a very right-wing paper, there's this opinion piece. Al-Masri, the last card, a worn-out left, plays its last card. Now, they're suggesting this is some kind of witch hunt against the Prime Minister. They say it's intentional vengeance by a judiciary that's hostile for the Prime Minister because of her judicial reforms, and that repatriating a dangerous criminal once the detention has been overturned by an appeals court is completely normal. I would, just to give you all the information, this article in La Repubblica a few days ago, it clarifies some of the details in the evidence that have led to this investigation. The Secret Service plane that flew him back to Libya left Rome to Turin to pick him up and take him to Libya before that judgment had come in from the Rome Appeals Court. That is why there is suspicion around potential government involvement.
Meanwhile, in the US, never a dull moment with Donald Trump, who is now on the warpath against a retired military general. Tell us what you've been reading.
Well, let's start with a piece from the Washington Post. An American general gets purged Soviet style, says this headline. This article says there is a thuggish revenge crusade ongoing against General Mark Milley that warrants special attention. Now, the general, during Trump's first term in office, distanced himself several times from the president, and particularly provoked Donald Trump's ire when he phoned his Chinese counterpart soon after the Capitol riots during a time of particular political instability, to clarify that the US was not planning an attack on China. And he did this behind Trump's back. Trump was furious, called this an egregious act. In Trump's first days back in office, they took down portraits of him that were hanging, for instance, in the Pentagon. So far, just symbolic, but much more significantly, on Tuesday, they have taken away his security detail. Now, he's a retired general, but it's important to bear in mind that in 2020, he was Joint Chiefs Chair when a US drone assassinated a very senior Iranian military commander. So this is not conjecture, he is on an official Iranian target list. Now, The Atlantic has this piece further mentioning three others who this has happened to, who are also involved in that operation and who are also on an Iranian target list. That's Mike Pompeo, John Bolton and Brian Hook. They were all Trump appointees. They were all following Trump's orders when they assassinated this Iranian general. Hence the headline, "If Iranian assassins kill them, it will be Trump's fault." Of course, this raises questions. If you order someone to do something, what if there is then bad blood between you? How do you then handle potential fallout from that?
And word of an aquatic immaculate conception. We're hearing about the virgin birth of a swell shark in a Louisiana aquarium.
Yes, it's almost biblical. So, aquarium surprised by virgin birth of swell shark in all-female tank. This was an all-female tank. The female swell sharks in this tank had not had male contact in 3 years. However, 8 months ago, keepers spotted an egg, and this is Yoko, who hatched on the 3rd of January. There are two hypotheses. One is delayed fertilisation, but it would have to be very delayed fertilisation. The other is something called parthenogenesis, which is a form of asexual reproduction where an embryo develops directly from an egg. It's extremely rare. When the pup is a little bit older, they'll be able to do a DNA test to find out if there is some father figure in the picture. But regardless, it's a bit of a miracle. Virgin births are extremely rare in nature. Starfish can do it, deep sea worms, Komodo dragons, it's recently been discovered, but extremely rare. Yoko, regardless, fairly miraculous concept.
That's something I didn't know. Every day is a school day. And that's all we have time for now. Do stay tuned for more news coming up on France 24.